just reading T.K. Arnold's comments in the Seaside Courier saying that actually the HOV lanes will be started this year and next year, so there will be major improvements on I-5 in the next couple of years before this project is built. But so what is exactly the problem with the traffic? Why is it that you feel that's going to really be a problem?
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up about Manchester and where they're going to start the I-5 widening, because Manchester is where they start, and then they have about $500 million to start working on widening the project. I actually have a diagram here that the red shows where the existing I-5 is, and this shows the broadening of the I-5. And the issue is the government going to be able to make sure that the funding is there to do all of the communities between Manchester and Carlsbad in a timely way, so that there is any help whatsoever in the near future for our traffic problems that are going to be created by these additional 35,000 car and truck trips a day that this project is going to bring to us. And that's what we need.
Okay. And then on the other point is there's a letter from Caltrans that I saw here that says that the Cannon Road interchange will not be completed before 2035.
Yes.
So there is a major interchange planned for that, which would solve a lot of problems, but that's not planned for a couple of decades. So how can you say that I understand the city believes that the traffic would have gotten worse without the project, and yet there's going to be as many people as visit Disneyland coming to this shopping center. So how could you
Deanne used the number. It's 25 to 35,000 trips is what we're looking at. And there's two pieces to this. One is the I-5 widening, which started in December of 1994. And this year is the year that they're actually, all the environmental work's done, all the permitting's done. They have to do one more outreach on some sound walls that are in Leucadia, or not Leucadia, Encinitas and Solana Beach that they're going to do this month. But they should start breaking ground at the end of the first quarter of this year. It is being done in phases. And the reason it's being done in phases is because of the Senator Kehoe bill, which was part of, at one time this was supposed to be 14 lanes wide. Today it's supposed to be 12 lanes. That was part of the negotiation. Within the next 5 years, it'll be expanded one lane up the center, a full freeway lane up the center of I-5 to Highway 78. And then after that's completed, they go back and start to do the outside lane. Because of the way the environmental work is being designed and because of the state bill, the bridges have to be widened in conjunction with the widening of the train right away and the train bridges. So that had to be done in a time frame. The question of funding, was the funding available? Well, the federal government, for the first time since Mr. Obama has been president, signed a 5-year funding bill. So the funding for this is assured. And then from a SANDAG perspective, you can verify that through SANDAG that the money is there for that piece of it. The environmental work for the 78 and 5 interchange has yet to be done, and that'll be done in conjunction with the Buena Vista Lagoon restoration project. So the I-5, it's not something that will be done completely, but by 2035 it will, and that includes replacing a lot of the bridges and other infrastructure. Mr. Caruso and the Caruso project, as it deals with Caltrans, he will have to deal with them. I know part of this is he has to give one lane or a certain amount of frontage right away as part of what his commitment is to this. The second piece of this is how do you do with the roads within the city? And there's been, not only was there an extensive study done through the city, but also some of the surrounding property owners also did their own traffic studies, just for their own knowledge. In fact, 3 adjoining property owners did their own studies, and all 3 of them agree that this project and the way this thing is designed, it will work. All of the frontage land and all the turns and intersections that go in and out of this, he has to pay for those. He also has to pay about $9.4 million towards our traffic impact fees. So on several intersections on El Camino Real, several intersections on Palomar, intersections on Tamarack, all of those are part of what he has to do mitigation on. So when you think of the traffic, also he's putting in the latest technology on traffic signalization, which will interconnect the whole Cannon Road, if you will. So when you look in the city of Carlsbad has a voter's guide that speaks directly to traffic, shows it by trip, and how that will all work. The biggest concern to traffic is really not this project, but it's really the surrounding communities and how they're growing. Another thing, it's just an observation, but at one time Cannon Road was supposed to go all the way through to Vista and Oceanside.
Yep.
It was Cannon Reach 4B. And our latest general plan update, I'm sure you'll thank us for this, that piece is actually no longer going to be built. It's come out of our circulation element. That piece alone probably represents over 35,000 trips a day. So we have spent an inordinate amount of time researching traffic. It is just as big a concern to me as it is to Deanne. And again, we're not going to put something in place that's going to cause us a nightmare.
Deanne, are you more concerned about I-5 or about the local Carlsbad traffic?
Oh, I'd like to talk about both of them if I could for a moment. So let's understand what the mayor just said. He said that we were going to restripe one of the extreme left-hand lane.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's when you're extending that HOV lane. That's what Caltrans says they're doing. That they're restriping that extreme left-hand lane to make it HOV.
That's simply not true.
And that they're pulling that other lane that they are adding off of what is now the shoulder. Now that's what Caltrans says when you call them and talk to them.
They're adding a lane.
That is the way that they're going to add that lane. They will add with the widening project. They will eventually add more than that, but for this immediate process, that is what they're focused on.
So that should help.
Well, we don't know exactly how that's going to work. I mean, if adding that one HOV lane is going to actually provide any relief for Carlsbad as much as it would provide for just the traffic going through
Oceanside residents.
Going through Oceanside residents.
If you relieve traffic generally, it relieves traffic.
So,
it's fungible.
Well, so let's think about it. So you've added a lane by restriping, and you maybe get another lane on the shoulder of the road currently, but you're putting on there just in Carlsbad what is the equivalent to a third of the population of Carlsbad, because that's what that 35,000 trips represents. Do you see? So that's the population growth. So you have that much coming into town, and most of it is concentrated on the Cannon Road Exchange. And the reason that letter is important is because it put the city of Carlsbad on notice that the changes they were making with this Caruso-affiliated plan would interfere with the solutions that Caltrans had. And one of the things that they asked specifically, and I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but that the city asked Caruso-affiliated to talk with Caltrans about these issues, and then Caruso-affiliated simply stopped coming to those meetings when Caltrans was saying, look, for our plan, we need to take 6 acres from this area right here where you are going to be developing so that we can do this particular access ramp and do all of the things that we want to do. And this is Caltrans doing.
There is something, this is the direct access ramp.
Let me go back to the direct access, because that,
okay.
Again, it's the spin. And I said, we've been studying I-5 and working on since December of 1994. In the draft EIR, there were lots of options looked at up and down the whole quarter. The 6 acres she is talking about was if we were going to do the 14-lane project, and it was going to look just like I-15, where you had 4 lanes that were separated, completely separated. That option did not make it to the final EIR. It was never even evaluated.
So that's not even an issue. It wasn't in the plan.
I mean,
he's making the point.
That's 5 or 6 years ago.
If it wasn't an issue, then why did Caltrans send you a letter about that, saying, this Caruso project is going to...
I haven't seen the letter that you're talking about.
He's just pointing out that with this project, you will not be able to have a direct access lane on Cannon Road. But you're saying...
No.
Or anywhere in Carlsbad.
That was decided. That was decided over 5 years ago.
Okay, so you're saying that's not an issue.
It's past tense.
Okay, so now we're clear.
So if it's past tense, why would Caltrans be sending you the letter to notify you that these developments are impacting their solutions for Caltrans? For the highway.
They would, obviously, when somebody was, I haven't seen the letter, so I'm not going to comment on the letter until I read it. But all I can say is anytime there's development and there's impacts, if there's an impact with Caltrans, and I'm sure Mr. Caruso is going to deal with it, the last thing he would want to do is create a unbelievable site and have people not to get there. I mean, that isn't the case at the Grove, that isn't the case at the Americana. And again,
I would like to, in the few minutes we have left, perhaps, I think we have clarified a couple of issues about the traffic, but just open space is something that a lot of people in Carlsbad care about. And so he is saying that he's going to preserve open space, but he's expanding the strawberry fields. Is he taking away from natural habitat, which is what a lot of people think is valuable on the edge of the lagoon there?
Well, I think what he's doing is he's moving the strawberry fields up the hillside to area that had previously been formed by the strawberry farmer, but that had not been as productive as where the mall is going to go. So that's one of, so he goes up to less productive land for that. But the issue on the open space is that they're redefining open space. And so this definition of open space includes 3-lane egress off of the development, off of the mall, and 5 lanes of traffic in, and that is suddenly classified as open space, and we thought we protected that years ago, but instead now we're going to have these 2 driveways going through. And we have parking lots that do exist in this plan. It's not just a covered parking building, and that's been defined as open space, and the farm-to-table restaurant has been defined as open space. I don't think that's what we think of when we think of open space. And we don't picture a little girl running through the fields.
We've got less than 2 minutes left.
let me do the open space real quick. I mean, the North 40 is all open space. It's going to have the Flower Mart on it. It's going to have 2 breweries on it. It's going to have a winery on it. Those are commercial uses that are in conjunction with the growing of crops. Today, it's almost impossible to grow a crop in California, meet all the environmental regs, the water, the uncertainty of water. So part of this is how do you preserve a farmer or the strawberry fields without having some other economic means of doing that. We've done it with the flower fields in the Armstrong Nursery. We're doing the same thing here. This isn't anything new. And Mr. Ukagawa right now, he used to farm a lot of land here because it's no longer economically viable. He has shrunk his footprint. He now has the opportunity he's now on 35 acres. He's going to be able to go to 60 acres. So for Mr. Ukagawa, and if he was here, he would tell you that this is a win-win. Real quick. We're spending $60 million or $16 million to enhance the open space, or that project is.
We are effectively out of time, and I know we could go on a long, long time about this. This is something that will be decided by voters on February 23rd, but ballots will be in the mail by when?
They should be there 24th, I believe.
25th
of January. So this is right upon us. Thank you very much for both of you for being with us tonight. It's all the time we have for it. I'd like to thank our guest, Mayor Matt Hall from Carlsbad, Deanne Weimer, representing citizens for North County. Stay informed with Journalist Roundtable. It's good TV.